This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
Right now in the Senate, we're witnessing an American tradition, albeit a bastardized one. Amy Coney Barrett is Donald Trump's pick to be the next Supreme Court justice, replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And the two couldn't be more diametrically opposed relative to their approaches to the job, to their approaches to interpreting the Constitution of the United States. And that difference of interpretation has ramifications not just for eggheads and legal scholars and constitutional experts, but for everyday Americans. If you have Obamacare, it matters that Amy Coney Barrett might be the next, will likely, unless some freak of nature happens, will be the next Supreme Court justice. If you are a member of the LGBTQ community and want to or are in a same-sex marriage, it matters. If you are interested or passionate about voting rights, it matters. If you're a woman who enjoys reproductive health care freedom, it should matter. And if you're an American who has sympathy and empathy and compassion and concern for your fellow citizens, whether any of those issues apply to you or not, it should matter to you too. And what we're witnessing, and I'm not going to get into the whole, all of the background and the history with Merrick Garland. We all know that. I've talked about it ad nauseum. But there are a couple moments that are pretty concerning, that this person is applying for the job of Associate Justice on the United States Supreme Court. Applying for the job, refusing to answer questions. Refusing. It is ludicrous that we have a system where this woman or any nominee can just say, just trust me. I'm not going to tell you the answers to your questions relative to what I believe about the law and what I believe about certain fundamental aspects of interpretation. I'm not going to tell you. I tell you what, just confirm me, then you'll find out. Because let me tell you, spoiler alert, we know how she's going to rule. She's to the right of even Scalia, the late Antonin Scalia. We know how she's going to rule on the Affordable Care Act. We know how she's going to rule on Roe versus Wade. We know what she feels about individual liberty when it comes to someone in a marginalized group. Now, there's a few moments that happened over the course of the last 3 days, mainly from yesterday, the third day of the hearing, that I want to talk about. First was from day 2, I believe. John Cornyn, famously maybe the dumbest member of the United States Senate. A travesty that this man represents a massive swath of population, a massive swath of land, being a Texas senator, John Cornyn. He asked this question about, what is that on your notepad there? We all have binders and books, and we're referencing notes. What is it you have there? Watch this.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Senator Cornyn.
You know, most of us have multiple notebooks and notes and books and things like that in front of us. Can you hold up what you've been referring to in answering our questions? Is there anything on it?
That letterhead that says United States Senate.
That's impressive.
How funny, how cute that you don't need notes, that you've come unprepared. You've arrived for the job interview of your life unprepared, madam. And why do I say unprepared? Well, she revealed herself as the fraud that she absolutely is when asked some of the most basic questions. Not even, I would say, high school level civics, she would have failed. Questions that are literally on the citizenship test to become a naturalized citizen of this country. She failed. Ben Sasse, Republican from Nebraska, tossing her up some softballs, just like Ted Cruz did the day before, with basic level civics information, and asked her about the 5 freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution and protected by our United States Constitution under the First Amendment. Watch this incredible, ridiculous moment.
So the Constitution is our foundational law and a governing document. And, while the Declaration of Independence tells us a lot about history and about the roots of our republic, it isn't binding law.
What are the 5 freedoms of the First Amendment?
Speech, religion, press, assembly, speech, press, religion, assembly. I don't know. What am I missing?
Redress or protest.
Okay.
Not cute. It's not a whoopsie. It's not a oh ha ha tee hee moment. This is someone who wants to sit on the highest court in the land. Someone who purports to be a legal and constitutional scholar. Who looks like a deer in the headlights when you ask her about the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. The First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Kind of interesting that the last one that she was stumped by, was protest. In today's world, do we need a justice on the United States Supreme Court who can't muster the understanding and the recall of the right to protest? Anyway, like I said, this is literally on the citizenship test. Look at this. I went to the Immigration and Naturalization Service to their website and took a couple practice tests. And this is one of the questions. So even if this is because she's under the lights, the bright glaring lights of the Senate confirmation process, you don't fail that badly. This is fundamental to her job. This is basic stuff that she's failing to wrap her brain around. To be able to recall. What do you think the pressure situations are going to be like on the court? We already have Brett Boofer Kavanaugh and the other knucklehead, Gorsuch, that Donald Trump sneaked in. Here we got another genius. Great. So the other moment between actually Lindsey Graham and Amy Coney Barrett was more of a gaffe on the part of Lindsey Graham when he flippantly refers to, they're talking about interpretation of a super precedent. And he's referring to Brown v. Board of Education, which desegregated, it integrated the schools. And he refers to it as the good old days of segregation.
And one of the reasons you can't tell us how you would rule is because there's active litigation coming to the court. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And one of the reasons you can say with confidence that you think Brown versus Board of Education is super precedent is that you're not aware of any effort to go back to the good old days of segregation by a legislative body. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I've also said that in lectures that Brown was correct as an original matter. So that is the kind of thing, since I've said it in writing, I felt like I could express before the committee.
Now, look, I'm going to be fairer to Lindsey Graham than he deserves. Because later, and I'm going to play the clip of him explaining what he meant here, that it was dripping in sarcasm, he says. But before I get to his explanation of it, should we give him the benefit of the doubt when he's fought tooth and nail? He has been a relentless, unabashed ally of Donald Trump, who's a white supremacist in office. Are we to believe that Lindsey Graham somehow supports a racist white supremacist in Donald Trump, but is passionate about civil rights? And doesn't believe that it's the good old days of segregation? It's hard to say, considering this last week he had a debate with his opponent, Jamie Harrison, and said that you're fine to go anywhere you want in South Carolina as long as you're conservative. If you're a black or Latino South Carolinian, you're fine. You can go anywhere, unmolested by the system, as long as you're conservative.
31% of our state is African American. I'm asking to every African American out there, look at my record. I've been supporting historically black colleges and universities, and I'm glad President Trump has made it a permanent fixture now. We don't have to beg every year for the money. I care about everybody. If you're a young African American, an immigrant, you can go anywhere in this state. You just need to be conservative, not liberal.
And we're witnessing even more than you would think. He's still hitching his wagon to Donald Trump, invoking Donald Trump's name over and over and over again, trying to convince his constituency, as well as nationally, that Donald Trump is an ally of black and brown folks across the country. It is laughable, to say the least. But here is his explanation after the hearing let out. He was asked about that moment, about the good old days of segregation. Here it is.
You know what I'm talking about?
This morning?
Yeah, this morning when you were asking about
If anybody was listening to who I am and what I said, you know that it was with deep sarcasm that I suggested that some legislative body would want to yearn for the good old days of segregationism. The point that I'm trying to make, there is nobody in America in the legislative arena wanting to take us back to that dark period in American history. And for my opponent to suggest that says far more about him than me. I've been a United States Senator for 3 terms. I represent a state with 31% of African American population. I want to make sure that everybody in my state moves forward. And in terms of that statement, it blows my mind that any rational person could believe that about me. This is not a game we're playing here with the people of South Carolina. There are plenty of differences between my opponent and myself. Manufacturing a scenario that Lindsey Graham wants to go back to the days of segregation is not worthy of the times in which we live. It is not worthy of an assault on me. We have plenty of differences with Mr. Harrison. I want to assure the people of South Carolina that statement was made with dripping sarcasm.
Look, even if it was dripping in sarcasm, which I don't believe it was, we just watched it. Go back if you want to watch it again to see whether or not it was dripping in sarcasm. Even if it was, in these times, with Donald Trump as president, and with the racial unrest that we've seen, the justifiable outrage of the American people and the protests that have taken place all over the country due to systemic racism and inexplicable police brutality against black men. Why would you use the phrase, the good old days of segregation? It's nothing to make light of, Lindsey Graham. don't understand these types, these Lindsey Graham types. I've done lots of videos about what a vile and reprehensible hypocrite he is, about how he is a spineless, loathsome worm with zero adherence to any moral or ethical code. He's in it for Lindsey. Following, like the lapdog that he is, to any dark corner of policy or ideology that Donald Trump leads in. And he's the judiciary chairman of the Senate, leading these proceedings, doing the bidding of Donald Trump to get Amy Coney Barrett confirmed as the next Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States of America. Please vote. Please get your friends and your family, neighbors, co-workers, whomever, who may not be a traditional voter or a passionate voter, as passionate as you, get them out there. Get them registered. Get them to the polls. I appreciate you. I'd love to hear from you. 714-576-4054. Email me daily at dollemore.com. If you have been considering it, I would appreciate you becoming a channel member. For fewer than $2 a month, you can join. Click the join button there. Become a channel member. Help support my work here as an independent content creator, an independent giver of commentary and analysis on the news and subjects just like this today. Follow me on social media. I love you guys. I'll see you next time. Until then, be genuine. Take care of one another.